You come here often? Oh my God. Okay, should we start?
We've been rolling.
Okay. My name. I'm Cara and welcome to my natural dye studio. Today we're going to be working with a bunch of weeds that I actually harvested from New York City parks. So we're here on the edge of Bushwick and Lick Park where we're going to start doing some foraging. I'm going to pick up some dandelions from here. And you just pull gently at the root. And these are considered invasive, so it's okay to harvest some of them. I'm going to show you guys some of the dandelion leaves. So I'm going to take a couple of these guys. And we'll help them spread their seed too by taking some of those fluffy ones. A little bit about how to identify some of the plants that I'm working with. There are a lot of really great resources that are going to be on the packet that I provide you with at the end of class, but a couple of ways to know the plants specifically that I've harvested today are by identifying them by the shapes of their leaves. So for example, mugwort has this amazing silver leaf on its backside. And it's part of the Artemisia family, which comes from the Greek goddess Artemis, and she was also the goddess of the moon. So a really cool way of identifying this plant is by its silver back, just like the silver of the moon, which is kind of witchy and like a nice way to think about it as well. This is catnip. Catnip has these amazing purple flowers on the top, and then 4 square leaves coming out of the side. The leaf growth is square and it pops out from the node, the little buds right there. Then we have dandelion, which everyone is pretty familiar with. We can give that a little, that didn't work. Okay, never mind. And then we've got cleavers. So an easy way to identify these is they grow quite vine-like and sticky up on the sides of scaffolding. These I purchased from organic online herbalist providers. So a great one is White Pine Community Farms, and then also Mountain Rose Herbs and Frontier Herbs are all really great sources for different other like medicinal plants that also double as dye. And then this is not a plant at all, but I'm going to be showing you guys how to work with rust. So these are rusty nails, and this is the way that I get all the like dark and cool and moody sad tones on a lot of the dye that I use, and we're going to be working with that today. What we're going to be dyeing on are some silk charmeuse napkins, I don't know what you want to call them, hankies I'd say, and then a pair of scissors are good to have, some string, a scale, a copper pot, tongs, a typical salad colander, and then just a lid for the pot to create the steam. You're also going to receive a resource packet and materials list so you can start acquiring all of these things in your own time. You don't need them all to start while you're watching this class right now. I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the basic rules of natural dyeing for all the beginners that are joining us today. Natural dyes only take to natural fibers, and natural fibers come in 2 different categories. So we have protein-based fibers and cellulose-based fibers. Today we're working with a protein-based fiber, which is silk. Protein meaning it comes from an animal. So like our hair actually is a protein fiber because we are animals too. That also includes leather and wool. We are not actually working with a mordant today, and what a mordant is it is a chemical bind on fabric. Sorry, we're gonna get a little nerdy here. The word mordant comes from the Latin word mordere, which means to bite. So basically we're creating a bite on the fabric that helps the dye be more substantive, which means last longer. Fugitive means it would fade much more quickly over time. There are a couple different ways you can achieve a mordant. I typically work with something called aluminum sulfate or aluminum acetate, but your pot can also act as a mordant. Different metals create this effect on fabric. So today am using a copper pot as a mordant as well. And then also these rusty nails that I showed you before, we are going to add straight into the pot to be able to create the color that I want to achieve today. This is going to help sadden the tone and then also create a dye that's longer lasting. So now I'm going to bring in my lovely, gorgeous, talented, amazing roommate, Kirsten, to help me out today. Welcome.
Did you miss me?
I did miss you. I saw her 3 minutes ago, sitting over there. Okay, so When we are doing natural dyes, we want to make sure that we can maintain our recipes. I'm a bit of a folk dyer when I'm dyeing projects at home, but it's always important to measure the weight of your fiber along with the weight of your dye matter so you know how much you used, and then you can recreate what you made again. So pardon me if you guys know how to use a scale, but I'm just going to go over it anyway. This is our gram scale. We're going to put this over here for you.
Okay.
And it is already at 0. So we're gonna get our receptacle here. So I'm just gonna use like a little wooden bowl. We're gonna add it to the scale. And then we press the tare button. So it's back at 0. And now we are going to weigh our mugwort. So it's at 88 grams, and you can use a handy dandy calculator or your broken iPhone. So 88 for the mugwort. Now we have 26 for the cleavers. Then we have 20 for the catnip. Here, would you like to do the honors?
Absolutely. This one is 28.
28 for the dandelion. Plus 17. And it's okay if you're weighing it a little bit. So it comes out to around 155 grams. And that's the weight of our dye stuff. Now, I'm gonna take all of the hankies that we're gonna use today, and we're gonna put them in here. And it's 50. So we are actually going to be using we're using more dye stuff than the weight of our fabric. Now, we don't need to use all of this to create a nice, rich, saturated color on our hanky because they're actually quite light. So this one handkerchief is 15 grams. So we're gonna do 2 different techniques today where we're gonna solid dye one of the handkerchiefs and then we're gonna bundle dye on top of it. So you can watch 2 different dye processes on one handkerchief, but we have a couple here in case we mess up. So what I'm gonna have Kirsten do now is when we're working with raw dye stuffs, we wanna make sure that we want to chop them down and make them quite small so that we're creating more surface area for the dye. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna get our handy dandy scissors and you're gonna squeeze these up in a little ball like this, and we're just gonna start chopping. So it makes it super tiny, and it's rough. This doesn't have to be neat or like beautiful or whatever. You know, more organic the better. And this also is really great for stress relief. So, you know, just providing you guys with a little bit of ASMR. So here you go.
Oh,
Get to chop. You can also rip them. So stuff like the dandelion. It smells amazing. Actually, this isn't as easy to rip, but we can do this together. Or you can use 2 scissors, but I only have 1 pair for now. So we're just gonna tear this all up. And I have filled this copper pot halfway with water. You really don't need to fill it to the top. You just wanna make sure that your fabric can flow freely within the pot. Are you having fun?
So much fun.
Good. Okay, so keep tearing. So that's pretty good. I think we can pause on the mugwort for now.
All right.
And then we're gonna start chopping out here. I'll do a little bit of the cleaver chop. And I'm gonna add all of these together. Oh my God, so fun. We're making a gorgeous street salad.
But don't eat this.
But don't eat this. Do not eat this. This also brings me to the health and safety point. Thank you, Kirsten. Your pots, once you start using them for dyeing, are now only your dye pots. So make sure that if you're doing this at home and you're gonna commandeer one of your kitchen pots for dye, it then becomes only your dye pot. Now, I'm going to just chop these dandelion into here.
It's a medley.
It's a medley. A street salad medley. Darling. Okay. We gotta have fun. All right, so throw in these. We're gonna chop some of these babies up. Now this looks beautiful. That smelled a little stinkier, didn't it?
Woo.
Woo! So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna enter, do you wanna help me? We're just gonna put these in the pot.
You gotta sprinkle it.
Sprinkle, you have to
Style.
yeah, finesse.
Glorious.
Glorious. And we're gonna stir this around a bit. You wanna make sure that all your dye stuff is thoroughly wetted as well. So we're gonna weigh out a little bit of our Tulsi holy basil. which is an incredible herb. I highly recommend going and getting some for yourself. It's to make great tea. And we want to make sure that we're gonna do 15 grams of that. So it's 100% the weight of our, keep it going, yep, of our handkerchief. Perfect. Yeah, it's more than you think. Great.
There we go.
Okay, I'm gonna shake it out and we're gonna add this to the mix as well. Oh, it smells so good. Now, the fun part is, can you grab a couple of those? Carefully, be gentle, and dunk them into the pot as well. Yep, nails. It's magic. All right, now the rust on these nails is gonna counteract with the, not counteract, it's going to catalyze the dye from the plant and help create like a darker, more like satin tone on it. So now I'm gonna have you enter this baby into the pot.
With style.
With style. Yes, beautiful. We're gonna stir it around a little bit. And then because this is a cooking show, it was done. It's already done. I mean, well, so we wanna make sure that we don't burn ourselves. So we're just gonna let this gingerly cool off for a minute. And then I am gonna run off screen for 1 second and rinse it with cold tap water. So now we have our beautiful, I don't know what kind of green would you call this? Like
Almost like a matcha.
it's like a rose matcha latte. There we go. So now we're gonna clear off our space, and this is gonna bring me to the second part of the dye class, which is the bundle dyeing portion. And you're gonna understand in a minute why we call it bundle dyeing. So I'm gonna lay this out for you, and I'm going to show you first, and then you can follow along and do it after me. So I'm gonna take some of these awesome recycled roses that I got from Garbage Goddess, who is a wedding compost service, or actually an all event composting service. And what Liza does is she partners with designers and different educators and makers like myself to transform post-event flower trash into dye materials, or even just like, if you just want to have them in your house, you can have an amazing range of beautiful flowers. So I'm just going to gently lay the petals on this fabric, and you can do this however you want. There's no right way to do it. So whatever feels good to you. We're gonna sprinkle a little bit, and then I would even take some of the mugwort that we chopped up before and add that to the mix. And then, ooh, some of the catnip. Catnip actually has amazing relaxing properties. That's why kitties love to go and nibble on it and they get kind of high. Okay, your turn.
Okay, I'm
Go
just gonna sprinkle?
Sprinkle, take whatever, yeah, possess. And we want to add some of the nails to it as well.
Definitely.
Yes.
I'm gonna go dark here.
So also, while Kirsten is doing her bundle, I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about how this class will work after you've watched it. I will have a live Zoom class one Thursday a month, which you'll receive a link to. So if there's anything that you don't understand or you're a little bit confused about after watching this, you can log into the Zoom, and then it'll be a Q&A question, and I can answer all of your natural dye related questions. And I'll be posting the date on my Instagram after you receive your class. That looks beautiful. You feel good? Do you want to add any lavender?
Oh,
I'm being bossy. I just want it to smell good.
Gentle suggestion.
Gentle. Don't you want to? Don't you want to add some? Just want to add some lavender?
Say no to lavender.
No one's gonna say no to lavender. So you can do a little. Oh, it smells so good. Okay. I'm gonna take a photo because I really like the way that this looks.
Also a gentle suggestion.
Yeah.
Great for your Instagram feed.
Great. Fabulous for your Instagram feed. Now, this is why we call it bundle dyeing, because we're going to roll the fabric from top to bottom or left to right, whatever feels right to you. This is a square, so it doesn't really matter. And then we're going to wrap it up really tightly. So I'm gonna start this for you so you can see how I do it. And we're just gonna slowly roll it like we're making a little fabric sausage. And you wanna finish that, you can tighten it up.
And how do you rest the nails?
That's a great question. So I rest the nails by using a little bit of lemon juice or distilled vinegar. So all you have to do is grab some nails from the hardware store, anything that you have lying around, put them in a bowl, open, and add a little bit of the acid to the bowl, and then let it hang out for like a day or two. And then once you take them out of the solution, rust will grow on them. So now what we're gonna do is tie off one end. Thank you for asking questions.
I care.
You can, she cares, she cares. Okay, and then we're going to wrap it all the way down. So the tighter you do this, the better. Some dyers like to put copper pipes in their bundles. Others will use like a dowel to help them tie their bundle off. Honestly, like whatever feels comfortable to you. This is just the way that I do it and it works for me. But there's no right way. So you can experiment, don't feel like it has to look exactly the way that I did it. These are all tips for you to kind of find the techniques that, you know, feel right. I am going to quickly dunk this into the water just to make sure that it's re-wet. Doesn't have to be for a long time, just like a quick little dunk. And then I'm gonna place it in the colander, just like so. And then we're gonna put a lid over it to create the steam chamber. Now, again, you don't have to do it like this. If you have a more ingenious way of doing it at home, go for it. You can also use like a dim sum basket. You can use a pot to cover over it. You can do a couple of different handkerchiefs or scarves or t-shirts at a time. Just be mindful that the dye from one of them might hit the other one, but if you're making something that's abstract and pretty,
there are no mistakes.
there are no mistakes, only happy accidents. Wabi sabi. Exactly. So we're gonna leave this now for about a half an hour. If you can leave it longer, do that. The longer you leave it, the longer it's gonna last. Like natural dyes, you know, everything good in life, things that are aged, time is actually an ingredient. You know, like a wheel of cheese that was aged for 100 years is gonna be way better than one that wasn't, in my opinion. I like a stinky cheese. So, agreed. So if you can leave it for at least 2 to 3 hours, that's the best. You can also put it in a compost heap at home and forget about it. So yeah, I encourage you to experiment with like the length of time. So I will join you back in a second when this is done. Okay, so here's the fun part. We're gonna open it up. So this is our finished bundle. And I'm just gonna, quickly give it a little snip. So what's also good about this is all of the dye matter that is in your bundle you can actually use to dye again. It's what we call exhausting the dye matter. So it's not gonna be as potent as the first round, but it'll still work. So feel free to,
Okay.
yep, go. So pretty.
Oh, wow.
Okay, we're gonna,
So beautiful.
thank you. Now let's just shake it off.
Woo.
And then, so you can see, everywhere that there is a dark mark was where the nails were.
I went heavy on the nail.
You went heavy, very metal.
So dark.
So now what you do to treat your dye is you're gonna rinse it with cold water, then you're gonna let it dry naturally overnight, and then you're gonna iron it on the hottest setting of your iron. If you don't have an iron, that's fine. You can either put it in the dryer or just let it dry naturally, but the iron will help set the dye. And there you go, there you have it.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you. Wow, this is
This actually
stunning.
looks
It looks
so
like an
pretty.
old map.
Oh, it does, kind of.
Where's the treasure?
We found the treasure. Okay, let's hang it up.
Obsessed.
Are you still going? Pin it. Just go pin it. I could never reach that. There you
Well,
go.
you got me, babe.
Gorgeous.
Thank you so much for coming to our show.